What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a video about everything we've got left for gaming in 2025 as we move to close out the year right here at the end of October. Obviously leaving just November and December, but realistically, given that games kind of stop releasing after roughly the first week of December, only about a month left of real game releases before everything kind of chills out for the holidays. And while I would honestly say our biggest releases are pretty well behind us at this point, there's still a variety of games releasing between now and then, things that I of course plan to cover, and then that's pretty much immediately followed up by the Game Awards, which comes with its own announcements as people start to get ready for 2026. So realistically, pretty good time to get caught up on any game releases you may have missed over the course of the year while we're at it, but otherwise, we can pretty well dive into it. Obviously, I'm going to focus on the things that are most important to me personally, but that does include a couple games I haven't really had the opportunity to talk much about. Outside of just these things, it does look like the 4X crowd is going to have some things to look forward to via Europa Universalis and like Anno 117 releasing, but that stuff aside, let's go ahead and dive into it. So first up, like very quickly, in a couple days actually, we're going to see the release of the Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake towards the either late last year or the very beginning of this year. I don't remember exactly when. I took a look at the Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake, which may seem a little out of order, but 3 was a prequel to the first two games. And while I won't cover it immediately, because I've got a few other things to get to, just like with that third one, I do plan on taking the earliest available opportunity to dive in and check these games out, as it provides a pretty handy excuse to go through some classics that I know people are fans of. In particular though, while I had a pretty good time with 3, I did kind of feel like they dropped the ball on some of the new stuff towards the very end of that playthrough, and I'm going to be interested in seeing whether or not these games have anything like that as well, or if they take more liberties with like the remakes, tightening that stuff up and not waiting until after release to do so. But either way, it should be an interesting time when I get to it. Now, that pretty much moves us into November. There is the release of Rue Valley right on the 11th. Rue Valley being a Disco Elysium-like, published by Owlcat Games. Looks like a fun little narrative adventure where you're stuck in a time loop. I enjoyed it well enough from the demo that I played, which is also currently available over on Steam if you'd like to take a look at it. But realistically, another game, narratively, that is releasing right around that time, or at least I should say finishes releasing around that time, is actually Dispatch, the superhero dispatch simulator, which has gotten rave reviews since its initial outing on October 22nd. I've already taken a look at what's currently available. It's quite good, fun to play, but still has some to go. It's releasing episodically until, I believe, November 12th, when I'll be able to finish it up and actually play through the whole thing. So that should be pretty fun, as it's already shaping up to be pretty good, and I think at the very least it'll be an interesting story, if not, the most exciting thing to do gameplay-wise. Now, at the very sort of end of November, we're seeing the full release of Ash and Steel, an upcoming Gothic-like, I guess you could call it, that is going to be releasing on November 24th. This was initially November 6th. That got pushed back a couple weeks so they could do some polishing according to their post about it. Honestly though, I just enjoyed the Gothic formula quite a bit, and I'm interested in any game that is doing stuff like that, and hopefully this game manages to deliver on that front. It also has a demo available if you'd like to check it out for yourself, by the way, as, well, to be honest, that kind of game isn't exactly for everybody, but should be a good time nonetheless. Now, not too long after that, right at the very start of December, we see the release of Sleep Awake. Now, this game is a bit different than the stuff I usually cover. Seems to be a first-person psychological horror game, but what really drew me into it, via, again, a demo that's available over on Steam that released as part of the most recent Steam Next Fest, was that you are like in the last city on Earth because everybody is disappearing in their sleep, and so people have become more erratic and are doing all these crazy experiments to stay up and not sleep to avoid this, but even then there's still like death cults and stuff roaming around you have to deal with, and it looks like it's going to be an incredibly interesting title, and I'm up for a unique experience, especially to end the year with, though admittedly, honestly, seems more like a Halloween type of title, but sometimes the chips don't fall that way. Within days of that, we then see the release of Octopath Traveler 0, a prequel to the Octopath Traveler series. This one seeing us create our own character with a little character creation situation. We're going to be able to restore a town via some like building features. Apparently we're going to be able to like invite people there. There's supposed to be like up to 30 potential party members that you'll form a party of 8 out of, though they're a little vague on the details there. But otherwise should incorporate a lot of the mechanics of the Octopath Traveler series, which I have enjoyed previously when I've played them. So I'm definitely up for another one. Pretty excited for that, actually. Now, the other games I wanted to mention before we move on are unfortunately maybes, I would say, for the most part, in the sense that they are either games that don't have a confirmed release date yet or aren't actually going to be like a full proper release. Starting off with the easy one, we've got the alpha for Dark Heresy, the upcoming follow-up to Rogue Trader from Owlcat Games, doing some different stuff in the world of Warhammer 40k, this time following along with an Inquisition agent. And while the alpha is obviously very early, I'm going to be especially interested to see what lessons and changes they've made from Rogue Trader, even beyond just, the obvious stuff from slightly different mechanics going from Rogue Trader to Inquisition. But either way, looking forward to actually getting my hands on that for the first time. That alpha is set for December 16th, but keeping it moving, we then have a couple other CRPGs that I've mentioned previously. Temple of Elemental Evil is supposed to be releasing sometime in Q4 of this year. It was initially slated for September, but then that got changed. While I'm excited for this one, they've been very radio silent about it, so it's hard to really gauge much of what to expect from the Steam release of this, which is what the news there kind of is. But either way, once it releases, I will obviously be all over it. Swordhaven, the Iron Conspiracy, a fantasy title from the makers of Atom RPG, is supposed to be releasing sometime late this year. It is very possible that might get pushed back, but it looks like they are nearing the end of their early access cycle. And while I have played it previously, they have updated it a great deal since then, so I'll be looking to jump into that and have some fresh eyes on it. And then last but not least, The Way of Wrath. So honestly, I think this one is very likely to get pushed to 2026. They're supposed to be releasing a dev diary relatively soon that will either have the actual release date or it's going to be pushed back, I think. But the gist of it is this is a CRPG where you lead a tribe that is inevitably going to be facing an enemy soon, and you've got to do everything you can to prepare them, but you've only got so much time, so it should theoretically be replayable as you prep for that. And it reminds me of like a little one-shot scenario type thing from a TTRPG. But that pretty much does it for the actual games I'm looking forward to, with the rest being stuff like, of course, gaming events, with the big one on the horizon naturally being the Game Awards. And while truth be told, I don't really care all that much about the awards portion of it, just because of the way that event is handled on that front, and also the fact that I know what is my own personal game of the year, so it's probably that part of me that's been reviewing games for years at this point. But still, it's always fun to see what the overall game of the year winner tends to be, and then how that lines up with people's own experiences. And I think specifically this year we have a lot of great contenders for that kind of thing, and I'll naturally put my own video out around that time as well. As always, though, those shows tend to come with a bunch of upcoming announcements, which I also think will be really interesting because, while there are plenty of games I would certainly want an update on that I think it's possible that could be there, but might not necessarily be likely, stuff like Clockwork Revolution, Outward 2, Crimson Desert, all these games that are slated for, later than this year, obviously, could potentially be there. But that stuff on top of the reveals and what that, of course, starts to fill up the calendar for 2026 is always a pretty fun time. Either way, though, hopefully at least some of that was interesting to you, and whether you're looking forward to any of these or if there's other games you yourself plan on playing, be they old or upcoming releases, I'd love to hear about them. Curious to see what games people are going to be playing over the holidays, and naturally that does of course mean to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.